In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Adorable Will, I want to pray these titles, but I am unable to do it. Come and do it with me, and I will do everything well. Jesus and Mary, I esteem you and I honor you, one with Luisa, who Jesus awaits in Eden to receive her small interest, to renew what the triune God did in the creation, and to receive the return for a love so great. Luisa, whose fortune is to live under the sweet enchantment of Jesus' divine volition. Luisa, creature in whom the divine will forms its operating life, operating in her as it does in itself. Luisa, creature in whose littleness the divine will extends with its light. Luisa, creature in whom the divine will forms its sweet enchantment to form its life. Luisa, whose person Jesus intertwined in the manifestations he gave her about his divine fiat. Luisa, to whom Jesus entrusted gifts and properties. Luisa, in whom Jesus formed the second transmission, transmitting her into the divine will and the divine will into her. Luisa, conqueror of the great good that Jesus was doing to her. Luisa, on the way in the center of the sea of the divine will, who can never go out from within it. Luisa, who is given a divine right back for each act she does in the divine will. Luisa, conqueror of the divine will. Luisa, creature whose littleness lives in the sea of the divine will as owner. Luisa, creature whose littleness lives in the sea of the divine will as queen. Luisa, creature whose littleness lives in the sea of the divine will as rich. Luisa, rich in the triune God's conquests that she has made in their fiat. Luisa, one who feels within herself by right the dominion of light. Luisa, one who feels within herself by right the dominion of sanctity. Luisa, one who feels within herself by right the dominion of beauty, making herself as beautiful as she wants. Luisa, one who has goodness at her disposal. Luisa, one who has love as the substance of her acts. Luisa, one who has the divine will as her own life, completely her own. Luisa, within whom Jesus is. Luisa, in whom the divine will has its prime act. Luisa, the soul who soothes the triune God's dolorous love and makes it smile. Luisa, creature in whom the divine will forms its sea. Luisa, the soul who comes to give refreshment and calm to the triune God's deliriums of love. Luisa, one who forms the sweet sea of the triune God's dolorous love. Luisa, creature who gives respite to the triune God's deliriums of love. Luisa, creature who refreshes the triune God with her love and soothes them. Luisa, for whom Jesus' love has been exuberant. Jesus and Mary, I honor you and I cherish you, one with Luisa, with whom the divine will wanted to restore creation. Luisa, from whom the divine will wanted the rights to reign. Luisa, with whom the divine will wanted to make the new era arise in the midst of the human family. Luisa, the cathedra of the divine will. Luisa, the secretary of the divine will's most intimate secrets. Luisa, who has the divine will in her power. Luisa, in whose soul Jesus works continuously. Luisa, one who possesses the divine will, who has divine strength. Luisa, one who has sufficient strength for anything. Luisa, soul chosen as first to whom the divinity entrusted a work that must serve for the good of all. Luisa, the soul over whom the divinity centralized the whole of their divine being. Luisa, the soul who the divinity gave so much of their own to the point of forming seas around her and drowning her with all their goods. Luisa, with whom the divinity behaves as if nothing else existed. Luisa, creature over whom the divine will pours the whole of itself. Luisa, creature chosen for the great universal good that must descend for the good of all human generations. Luisa, one who always walks, who has the round of eternity at her disposal. Luisa, creature whose acts in the divine will prepare the counter poison, the beauty, the freshness, the act opposite to everything evil that the human will has done. Luisa, the soul who acquires the right to offer the light of the eternal Fiat to all through the gift of her acts multiplied. Luisa, who the divine will keeps clasped to its breast. Luisa, who the divine will nourishes with light. Luisa, who the divine will raises as a birth from itself, noble and holy. Luisa, who the divine will keeps sheltered within its very light. Luisa, one who renews her rebirth and redoubles the rebirths for all human generations. Luisa, in whom the divine will centralizes everything and everyone. Luisa, the dawn of the day. Luisa, the daybreak that calls the sun. Luisa, the sun that gladdens all the earth. Luisa, the sun that illuminates the earth. Luisa, the sun that warms the earth. Luisa, creature as sun with wings of light, more than tender mother, embraces everything, fecundates everything. Luisa, creature as sun that gives the most beautiful tints to flowers, the most delicious sweetness to fruits, maturity to all plants. Luisa, one to whom the divine will can tell its pains. Luisa, one to whom the divine will can tell its joys. Luisa, one to whom the divine will can entrust its secrets. Luisa, creature who breathes the all. Luisa, creature who feels herself all sanctity, love, beauty, because the all of the divine Fiat keeps her within its sea, and is at her disposal. Luisa, one who possesses everything and the all is hers. Luisa, the only fortunate one to be preserved in the prodigy of her creation. Jesus and Mary, I cherish you and I love you, one with Luisa, the only fortunate one to have the rights to possess and to live in the abundance of the goods of her Creator. Luisa, one who has the great good of possessing a divine will on earth. Luisa, one who the divine Fiat raises in a divine manner. Luisa, one in whose every act the divine Fiat gives a sip of the divine being, so that there may be no quality of theirs that is not centralized in her. Luisa, one who in coming to the celestial fatherland brings her paradise of joy and happiness, all divine as triumph of living in the divine Fiat. Luisa, daughter of Jesus' will, who is dear to him. Luisa, one who centralizes within herself the continuous act of all creation. Luisa, one who centralizes within herself the attitude of pouring creation back into God. Luisa, one who possesses the divine will, who can give everything to Jesus. Luisa, one who is as though present in the triune God's house, receiving the continuity of their outpouring. Luisa, one who is aware of the so many outpourings of the triune God. Luisa, one who feels invested by the triune God's creative strength. Luisa, one who touches the triune God's inextinguishable flames with her own hands. Luisa, creature who remains clasped to God. Luisa, one who is Jesus' amusement in creation. Luisa, littlest one in whom Jesus placed the great deposit of the knowledges about his divine will. Luisa, in whom the divine Fiat preserves and maintains its life. Luisa, in whom the divine will encloses itself. Luisa, called in a special way. Luisa, who has been given the office of making the divine will known. Luisa, who has been given the office of impetrating that God's kingdom be constituted in the midst of the human family. Luisa, who represents all those who must receive the good the Divine Majesty wants to give by means of the office given to her. Luisa, in whom the divine will descends through into all those who will let it reign. Luisa, little daughter of Jesus' will. Luisa, whose company the divine will feels in its acts. Luisa, the soul who unites herself to the single act that the divine will does in creation and receives the deposit of all the good that was done in it. Luisa, everything is her own, since her will is one with the Divine Majesty's, and what is theirs is hers. Luisa, creature whose love rises into the Divine Majesty's love, and places itself at their level. Luisa, creature who duplicates the Divine Majesty's love. Luisa, creature who duplicates the Divine Majesty's light. Luisa, creature who duplicates the Divine Majesty's power. Luisa, creature who duplicates the Divine Majesty's happiness. Jesus and Mary, I love you and glory to my Creator, one with Luisa, creature who duplicates the Divine Majesty's beauty. Luisa, creature who loves the Divine Majesty with doubled love, and for love of her the Divine Majesty feels drawn to love all creatures with doubled love. Luisa, who forms for herself two arms, the arm of immutability and the arm of firmness in operating continuously. Luisa, who keeps God clasped with these two arms in such a way that he cannot free himself from her. Luisa, who the divine will directed its first steps in. Luisa, who in surrendering her human will, the divine will immediately formed its first act of conception in her soul. Luisa, to whom the divine will manifested its knowledges, formed its life, and gave start to the formation of its kingdom. Luisa, the soul who has everything in her power. Luisa, one who possesses the fount of Jesus' conception. Luisa, one who possesses the fount of Jesus' birth. Luisa, one who possesses the fount of Jesus' tears. Luisa, one who possesses the fount of Jesus' steps. Luisa, one who possesses the fount of Jesus' works, of everything. Luisa, one who is repeater of the triune God's works. Luisa, one who gives the triune God the spur, the occasion to move their fonts in order to renew their works. Luisa, creature who takes part in the triune God's creative strength and can make everything rise again to new life. Luisa, creature who with her acts, offerings, supplications, moves God's fonts continuously. Luisa, one whose acts ascend to the beginning from which the creature came out. Luisa, whose acts line up around the beginning, that is God as divine acts. Luisa, one who binds God to give her the rights of a kingdom so holy, and therefore the rights to make it known and to make it reign upon earth. Luisa, one who reacquires all the acts of divine will done for love of creatures. Luisa, conqueror of God's will and of all creation. Luisa, fortunate creature to whom the divine will can give what it wanted to give with so much love from the very beginning of the creation of all the universe. Luisa, creature who enters into the divine order. Luisa, proprietor of the divine will's works, who can give and ask for others what is her own. Luisa, creature whose rights are divine and who asks by a right that is divine. Luisa, whose every act is a call to her Creator. Luisa, who all the works of creation come forward before, and all those of redemption line up around. Luisa, who by right asks for whatever she wants. Luisa, little daughter of Jesus' divine will. Luisa, daughter of Jesus' divine volition. Luisa, one who breaks Jesus' loneliness in the midst of so many works of his. Luisa, one who speaks to Jesus about his works. Luisa, one who tells Jesus she loves him for each created thing. Luisa, one who opens her heart to Jesus and speaks to him of her intimate secrets. Luisa, one who speaks to Jesus of his divine fiat and of her sorrow, for she does not see it raining. Luisa, the soul who is everything for Jesus. Luisa, the soul who makes up for the muteness of Jesus' works for him. Jesus and Mary, I glorify you and I praise you, one with Luisa, the soul who speaks to Jesus for everything. Luisa, the soul who makes Jesus happy. Luisa, the bearer of God's works. Luisa, the continuous copier of God's works. Luisa, the continuous repeater of God's works. Luisa, one who fixes her eye of light upon her Creator to see what he is doing in order to absorb it into herself. Luisa, one who by virtue of the triune God's will comes closer to their likeness. Luisa, one who by virtue of the triune God's will loves with their love and glorifies them with their own works. Luisa, Jesus' little daughter. Luisa, one who possesses the rights of her creation, and more than son, lives in the unity of her Creator. Luisa, one who is the reproducer of the effects of the divine unity. Luisa, one who gathers everything, embraces and warms everyone. Luisa, one who, with the breath of the divine unity, produces in the hearts of creatures all the effects that are present in the kingdom of grace. Luisa, one who with her touches gives sanctity, virtue, love, sweetness that are divine. Luisa, who would want to enclose everyone in the unity of her Creator. Luisa, one who is the true Son. Luisa, daughter of Jesus' volition. Luisa, in whom the divine will reigns, like a king in his royal palace, giving her its divine lessons. Luisa, the herald in making the divine will known to others. Luisa, whose soul is studded with stars through the many sayings of the beautiful virtues Jesus manifested to her. Luisa, in the depths of her interior, Jesus called back the order of the divine Fiat. Luisa, who Jesus kept absorbed, either in him or in the Son of his divine Fiat. Luisa, fortunate creature, who has the great good of living in the divine will, who enraptures the Supreme Being. Luisa, the little daughter of the Supreme Being's will. Luisa, one who offers divine lives to the Supreme Being by means of her acts. Luisa, daughter who with the divine will can do anything and can reach anything. Luisa, who embracing the whole human family will be able to impetrate that the order of the way in which they were created may come back. Luisa, who will be able to impetrate that the night of the human will may cease, and the full day of the divine will may arise. Luisa, nourisher of the sanctity founded in the virtues together with the divine will. Luisa, one who can form the sun with her acts. Luisa, upon whom the divine will fixes its rays. Luisa, in whom the divine will descends with the whole of its sun. Luisa, little daughter of Jesus' divine volition. Luisa, Jesus' second mama. Luisa, who received the great good of the renewing of Jesus' incarnation as the endowment of the kingdom of his divine Fiat. Luisa, Jesus' second mama, who let him form the kingdom of his divine will. Luisa, who loves Jesus with the inseparable love of mother. Luisa, prisoner, bonding together with Jesus to make the good of the kingdom of his will mature. Jesus and Mary, I praise you and I thank you, one with Luisa, the mama Jesus needed for the kingdom of his Fiat. Luisa, mother who Jesus' demanding love wanted as imprisoned, to keep her at his disposal. Luisa, in whose heart Jesus is prisoner. Luisa, Jesus' dear prisoner, all intent on listening to him and on breaking the loneliness of his long imprisonment. Luisa, who Jesus wants always together with him. Luisa, spectator of Jesus' baby tears. Luisa, spectator of Jesus' moans. Luisa, spectator of Jesus' sobs. Luisa, spectator of Jesus' pains. Luisa, spectator of Jesus' works. Luisa, spectator of Jesus' steps. Luisa, spectator of Jesus' joys. Luisa, who Jesus calls in each of his acts to give them to her as gift. Luisa, one who never leaves Jesus, they are clasped and inseparable. Luisa, who like a ship does her run of love and adoration in the sea of the divine Fiat, and remains all love, all beautiful, all holy. Luisa, who acquired the science of who her Creator is. Luisa, whose motions were profound adorations. Luisa, little daughter of the triune God's divine volition. Luisa, who the triune God spoke to and made themselves known. Luisa, who the triune God spoke to at length of their divine being. Luisa, who the divine being's word bound and identified her with them. Luisa, who the divine being felt the need to give the greatest gift of manifesting to her their truths. Luisa, who Jesus came to narrate the long story of his divine fiat. Luisa, Jesus' daughter of the divine volition. Luisa, one who is in communication with all things by the triune God. Luisa, little daughter of Jesus' will. Luisa, always together with Jesus. Luisa, who disposes the divine will to form another act of it. Luisa, who loves and esteems the gift of Jesus' will. Luisa, who gives Jesus the continuous gift of her will. Luisa, Jesus' rich bank upon earth. Luisa, nimbus of heaven. Luisa, who belongs to the divine family. Luisa, who is a member of the divine family. Luisa, one who lives in the triune God's midst. Luisa, who the divine fiat brings to the triune God on its lap of light. Luisa, who the divine fiat brings into the triune God's inmost divine womb. Luisa, who the triune God are happy to have. Jesus and Mary, I thank you and I esteem you, one with Luisa, who the triune God cuddle as their dear memory. Luisa, little. Luisa, in whose littleness the divine fiat forms its life. Luisa, who lives in God, who possesses and can give the goods she possesses. Luisa, who the divine being surrounds everywhere, and she sees, feels, touches nothing but God. Luisa, who delights in the divine being, and in him alone she comprehends and knows. Luisa, who finds herself in her God. Luisa, who as pilgrim must plead for her brothers. Luisa, happy creature, exempt from any danger, free of all evils, as God posted himself around her to keep her defended from everything and from everyone. Luisa, little daughter of Jesus' eternal will. Luisa, one who takes continuously from God. Luisa, into whom God continuously pours himself. Luisa, around whom God fills and forms seas. Luisa, who shares in all the particles of the divine qualities as much as is possible for a creature. Luisa, who can give God all of himself. Luisa, triune God's inseparable one. Luisa, whose littleness flows in the triune God's power. Luisa, who fills herself with the triune God's power and honors it by placing it in the condition of communicating itself to the creature. Luisa, who flows in the triune God's beauty and fills herself with it. Luisa, who flows in the triune God's love and fills herself with it. Luisa, who flows in the triune God's sanctity, remains filled with it and honors God. Luisa, with whom the divine being shares all their divine qualities. Luisa, to whom the divine being denies nothing. Luisa, renewer of the triune God's feasts. Luisa, who sings praises of the sovereign lady as queen, and who the sovereign lady finds present in the same divine fiat. Luisa, daughter whose praises the sovereign lady sang to honor the divine will that possessed her. Luisa, of who the heavens, sun, angels, and everything sang the praise. Luisa, the sovereign lady's little daughter. Luisa, who renders her being in the divine will's hands like matter. Luisa, virgin Jesus chose for the kingdom of the divine will. Luisa, the little daughter of Jesus' will, who wants and asks for his kingdom. Luisa, who knows, loves, and possesses the divine will, and prays that other creatures may possess it. Luisa, the creature always turned toward heaven and grows of heaven. Luisa, who the divine will places in order with her Creator, and manifest to her who He is, and how much He loves her, and how He wants to be loved. Luisa, who the divine Fiat places before the divine reflections. Luisa, in whom the Creator portrays His image and makes her will one with His. Luisa, absorbed by the Supreme Being. Luisa, everything is heaven for her.
You have reached the end of day 24 of the titles of Luisa. Fiat.